everybody, let's talk about how failing in photography could be a good thing. Why? Because that means there's less competition.
Damn!
Okay, I'm just kidding. Let's really talk about how failing in photography can be a good thing. Are we ready for this? Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephen Nowatarski. If this is the first time you've been here, this channel is dedicated to a lot of creativity, using your imagination, thinking out of the box when it comes to regular photography or as a photo artist. If you're not sure what a photo artist is, I have a video. I'll try to put a link at the bottom in the show notes that describes what is a photographer versus a photo artist again. Let's talk about the technique about failing and why failing could be a good thing in photography. I was taught this years ago when I was doing weddings, and this technique will work regardless if you're doing studio work. It could be headshots, it could be still life, it could be landscape. It really doesn't matter. It's a great exercise to do to get more efficient in doing your photography. So this came from an example like Elon Musk. I'll never forget when he started SpaceX, and his goal was to make these boosters that would push rockets up into orbit, in capsules, I should say, up in orbit. But the booster would come down and land on a target and be able to reuse that booster 10, maybe 12 times. And that reduces the cost of, putting things up in orbit. Becomes more efficient. So he was having a press conference the very first time they were going to attempt to land a booster, on a mark and or target, I should say. And somebody in the audience said, well, what do you think your success rate will be of this? And he said 100%. It's going to be 100% success. And they go, really? He go, yep, 100% guaranteed success. Now, landing safely without crashing, maybe 10, 15% chance of doing that. And the reporter had a puzzled look on his face like, well, I thought you said 100% success. And he goes, yep, we expect this to fail because what we want is the data from the failure so we could do a better job the second time around. And then it's going to crash again. We know that. The odds of it landing is very slim yet, but it might be 25, 30%. And we'll get more data, and then we'll do it again, and we'll get more data, and we'll get more data. And the point is, over time, we'll get into a position where most of the time, this thing will land safely. And that's what happened over time. In fact, last year, if you follow SpaceX, in 2022, they put into orbit and launched 61 flights that went up. And all of these boosters came down and landed on a target on land, and some of them were out at sea. Incredible. 100% success from last year. Unbelievable that happened. So how does this apply to us in photography? Well, one of the things I was taught was by Roberto Valenzuela. He's a major wedding photographer, very successful out of California. And he coached me and he said, Steve, when you're doing a wedding, how many images do you shoot on average? And I said, well, that varies because it might be a quick, short wedding. I don't know, about 600-800 images to maybe, 1,500 images on a major wedding where I'm shooting all day from morning to a night at the ceremony. And, I should say the reception at the end. He said, what do you do with the images? When you cull them down, how many images do you come up with? And I said, an average of 200 to 250 for the client. He says, what do you do with all the images that you didn't pick? And I said, well, nothing. He said, I know some people, they'll just delete them off their hard drive because they want to save hard drive space. And some of us, we just leave it alone. We just don't use it. We move on to our next project. He says, here's what I want you to do. Please do not delete those images. I want you to come back when you have time, and I want you to go through every single image and ask yourself why this image was not a pick. And I want you to analyze it and think about what should I have done to make it a pick. Now, some of the things obviously are out of your control, like oh, that's a blank frame. Oh, I forgot to turn the flash on. So obviously I know what happened there. So you turn the darn flash on. But things like, a lot of things are out of your control. Like when I took a group shot or a shot of the couple, one of them blinked or had a half blink. So they look like they're drunk or something, so that's not a good shot. But how about things that are framed really bad? Like, I see this exit sign over on the side above his head, and I should have rethought that shot at a different angle where I didn't have that. Maybe I should have shot a little bit lower. Some shots should have been a little bit higher. So it's really just learning, at these images. Oh, this one is actually blurred. And as you're going through these images, as an example, if you find that, oh, there's another blurry one, and then later on, oh, another blurry one, and another blurry one. Well, that tells you you have a focus problem, right? So you've got to work on that. And he said, over time, what will happen is if you need to have 200 to 250 images for a client, you'll eventually find out that you will not be shooting as many images to get those 200 to 250 images. And that's exactly what happened. What happened was I was doing 12 to 1,500 images, and all of a sudden I was dropping down to about 1,000 images to get the 250 that I needed for a client. And then all of a sudden it was like 800, and I got as low as like 600 images on a major wedding to come up with a couple hundred to 200, 250 images for the client. So in other words, I was getting more efficient at that. So the reason I'm telling you this story is I've been doing this for a long time, and I just take it for granted. I just don't need to take a lot of photos. I know what I have set in my mind, what I want to do, and I just take that shot and I'm done. And so a lot of models that I work with in the studio, again, just for some people that don't know, I do some part-time classes as a faculty member for Midwest Photography Workshop right here in Southeast Michigan. Most of the classes I teach are hands-on workshops with Photoshop and different, say, genres or categories. But I do teach some classes in the studio once in a while. And the comments I get from models that have worked with me the first time when I shoot them is, geez, you hardly shoot any photos of me. And I said, well, I get what I want. I don't need to do a lot of photos. And so I actually had this happen this past week. I was at a function. A friend of mine had opened up a new studio in Pontiac, Michigan, and a bunch of people were coming through. I think there was like 60 or 80 people total that came through in about a 4-hour period. And a lot of photographers that I knew were there, that I've actually worked with and trained and helped in the studio. And one of them pulled me in the hallway and says, I just need to ask you something. He said, I see you that when you're there at a class, you're not really shooting. You're just helping setting up the backgrounds and tearing it down and setting up something different. And once in a while, you just jump in and you just take a quick handful of shots really fast. You don't even take a minute of the model. And then she goes away to change for the next set. And you do the same thing. When they're done with the set, you take like 3 or 4 images really fast. But doggone it, when you showcase these images, I'm seeing awesome images and you hardly shoot any. And I said, I had to explain to him exactly what I'm explaining to you about getting proficient at understanding what you want, getting better and very selective on what you shoot. I mean, I can't imagine back in the earlier days when people shot film and shot weddings. I mean, I never did that. I shot film before, but not weddings. And, how many rolls of film are you going to do? So you really slow down and you really have to focus and be very selective on what you shoot. Digital, unfortunately, on the good side is every time you hit the trigger, no money's falling out of your pocket. But if you're shooting film, every time you press that button, money falls out of your pocket. So you're trying to make sure that this is going to be a decent shot. Digital, we tend to get sloppy sometimes, or we're just shooting. And, sometimes we just need to focus and slow down and just get better quality images. And you don't have to sit there and shoot a zillion images out there like I see amateurs doing and people that are fairly new to photography. I mean, we all go through that. I mean, I did it. It's something that we have to learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a shot that I wasn't really supposed to be shooting. It was behind the scenes shoot in the fall of 2022. It was an avant-garde shoot. There was 4 models that Midwest Photography Workshop had with a group of photographers. It was an outdoor venue, a lot of nice scenery and areas to shoot. And occasionally, as I was taking behind the scenes shots and little video clips that I was putting together to showcase what the avant-garde project was for the school, so they had a record of that, I would occasionally just jump in, take 2-3 shots of the model and back out and start doing my behind the scenes stuff, and just was walking around. So 4 models, I think I took 22 shots, and I ended up with 8 really awesome images that I call, and this is just me, I call them iconic images, which means they qualify for me to print the image to put in my portfolio. I had other good images, but that's like the cream of the crop of the shoot. So 22, I got really good at, at having 8 out of 22. In other words, I didn't have to take a lot of shots. So let me show you those in a little slideshow. I don't want to do all 8 of them. I'll just do a before and after on 4 of the images, and there'll be like 1 image of each model. So let's take a look at that right now. Okay, here's some of the images. I'm just going to show you 4 out of the 8. There's no sense showing, all 8 of them. Is just to help point, the concept out to you. But it'll just be a before and after. So here's some sample images. We don't need to see me, so I'll make sure I pull myself out of this. This is one of the first shots right here. See if I can, there we go. And somebody had brought a little crystal ball, and I asked her to scream at the crystal ball. And I had her do that about 2 or 3 times, and this was the last shot, and that was it. I mean, it took me like, I don't know, 15 seconds or so, and then I created that. I had that in the back of my mind because I've done so many composites and stuff, and I knew what I wanted. So once I got the shot I needed, I'm finished. I'm walking out of there. And then later on, I was doing behind-the-scenes stuff, bumped into this other model, and I don't recommend doing this. I just pushed myself. This was in the fall. It's very busy in the background, trees, leaves. But I think I did 3 shots of her, 3 to 4, something like that, at different poses. And I chose this one. And I already had, again, in my mind what I wanted to do. And this is what I came up with as a composite again. So that was just one of my, worthy shots that I really like that's going in my portfolio that will be printed. The next one is very similar. She had the crystal ball and stuff, and I had her look at it. I had her scream at it. And again, I had quite a different thing in mind to do with this image. And again, this is what I came up with. And I think I only took, again, 2 or 3 quick shots of her to come up with the end result right there. And the very last one is, this was pretty cool because she had a dress where they pinned a bunch of fake butterflies on her, and then she had some fake butterflies in her hand. And I just told her, just naturally, I want you to pose and look at your hand. And again, I took like 2 or 3 images really fast, and I was done in 15, 20 seconds. And then this is what I sort of had in mind, envisioned. I came up with this as a piece of artwork. So again, this comes with practicing all the time, analyzing images that you shoot, visualizing what you want, and then capturing it right away, and not wasting a lot of time just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and having a zillion images to go through, to cull through. This just takes a little bit of practice, that's all. So with that out of the way, hopefully this made sense to you. Maybe email me if you have some questions regarding this. I'll put my email address here at the bottom. It's stevenphotoartist@gmail.com. Also, if you can do me a favor, and that is if you like this video, please like it. It helps with the algorithm with Google and YouTube, actually. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hit that notification bell, because when you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And I'm trying to do at least 4 videos per month for you guys. If you have suggestions for videos, I'm open-minded to that. I've already got quite a few. So I've got quite a backlog of stuff and topics that I can do coming up over the next few months. But again, I'm going to encourage you to keep out there, keep thinking out of the box, get that camera out, start shooting. And I will see you in the next video. See ya!